Hello everyone, welcome back to yet another interesting tutorial. So today we are doing something highly requested by some of our subscribers and most of our followers on social media. So thank you so much for all the messages and all the suggestions. We really appreciate you. If you've not been following us, make sure you do so because we are very active on all our social media platforms. All the link to our social media platforms are down on the description box, so don't forget to follow us and join this amazing family. So without any further ado, let's get started. So these are the measurements that we'll be needing for today's tutorial. Depending on the style you're after, you might need more or less measurement. But because we're going for a basic trouser block, we just need few of this measurement. You need to take your waist measurement, the hip measurement, the crotch length measurement, the length of the trousers or pant, and the ankle measurement. So these are the basic measurements that we need for today. So to get started, we need the following tools. Now, these are the tools that I normally use. If you don't have everything I've got here, you don't have to worry yourself. As long as you have anything that will do the job, you are good to go. I've got my straight ruler, my hip curve ruler, paper scissors, pencil, fabric scissors, eraser, measuring tape, pattern paper, sewing pins, and of course my L square ruler, but you really don't need this if you don't have it. So before we get started, in order for you to see what I am doing, I am going to be using different colors of Sharpie or markers for you to see. So what I am doing now is drawing a vertical line very close to the center of my pattern paper. So this line is going to be equivalent to the trouser length. So I'm just making sure I have that correctly drawn in, and feel free to use your own preferred length, but mine is 42 inches and that is what I am using for this draft. So next we are going to draw the waistline, and feel free to use your own measurement, but what we need is a quarter of the waist measurement plus half an inch for ease, or for the darts. That's for the front dart. And once we have that, we need to draw that line in, and that will become the waistline. So next we need to mark our hip point, and that is the distance between the waist and the hip. So for mine, it's 7.5 inches. I'm going to mark that point there, and that will serve as our hip line. From this point, we are going to draw in our hip line, and that will be a quarter of your hip measurement plus ease. So feel free to use whatever amount that you need, but it shouldn't be more than an inch. So you can use from half an inch to an inch of ease, and that will be your new hip line. So now that we have the hip line drawn in, the next thing will be for us to locate the crotch point, and that is 12 inches from the waistline. And feel free to use your own measurement, but for mine, it is 12 inches from the waistline. So now that we've marked in our crotch point, what we need to do next is to measure the distance between the crotch point to the ankle point. And we are going to divide that by 2, and that will be the knee line. For the knee line, you don't need any measurement. All you need to do is to square out a line, and that will do for the knee line. So now that we've drawn in the knee line, what we need to do next is to draw in the ankle line. And for that, we need our ankle measurement, and whatever measurement that you've got, you need to put that there, and that will be for the ankle line. So now that we have the foundation or the plan of our trouser block, all we need to do next is to label each line so that we don't get them confused. So make sure you do that before we commence to the next stage. Now that that is done, we are going to start off by creating the crotch depth. In order for you to get the right measurement for your crotch depth measurement, all you need is a quarter of your hip measurement. Divide that by 3, and whatever answer you get, you add half an inch to that answer, and that will be your crotch depth measurement. For mine, it is 3.75 inches, so I'm going to mark that in. In case it sounds a bit confusing, make sure you pause the video and look at the information on the screen. That will help you get started with your calculations. Next, around our waist area, at the edge of the waistline, we need to measure 0.75 inches above the waistline. Once that is marked in, we need to get our straight ruler to draw a connecting line from the original waistline to the new point. Once we have that, we are going to get our hip curve ruler to draw in a curve around the waistline, and that will be the new waistline. Next, we need to shape around the crotch area. In order for us to get the right position for the curve, we need to measure the crotch depth, which is 3.75 inches, and we are going to divide that by 2. And whatever the answer is, you are going to mark a point using that measurement. So we are going to place our ruler at the starting point of the crotch depth and draw a diagonal line to the new point. Once we've drawn in the diagonal line, this will serve as a base for our curve around the crotch area. So we need to get our pattern master and draw that new curve line. And once we have the pattern master on the right position, we are free to draw in that new curve line. So next, we are going to measure from the knee line 1.5 inches. We are going to mark that point. And also, we are going to measure 1 inch from the ankle line outwards. And we are going to mark that as well. Once all these points are connected, that will serve as the inner leg seam line. Now we need to get our hip curve ruler and connect all the points. So as you can see, all the lines and points are well connected. Now it's starting to form the front part of our trousers. What we need to do next is to locate the dart position. And by doing that, we need to measure the midpoint on our waistline. So once the dart point is located, all you need to do is to take 1/4 inch from both sides of the dart point. Next, for the dart length, you need to measure downwards 4 inches from the dart point. Once that is done, all you need to do next is to connect all the points together, and that will serve as your front dart position. Next, we need to finish off this pattern by drawing our side seam, and that is connecting the waistline to the hip line and down to the ankle. But in order for us to do that, we need to first of all draw a vertical line from the hip line to the ankle line. Once the vertical line is drawn in, you will notice that our trousers is beginning to form kind of like a loose fit, and that is okay if you want a trouser that is more loose as opposed to a tight fitted trouser. So you can use that line for styles like that, but for this video I am going for a less loose fit. So I'm actually going to use 7 inches for my ankle measurement, and that is half of my ankle measurement, and that will give me a semi-loose fit kind of trousers. But before I draw in the new style line, I want to make sure I get my hip curve ruler to draw in my side seam, which is around the hip area. Once that is done, I can now draw in my new style line. So for my new style line, I am going to go to the ankle line and measure my ankle measurement, which is 7 inches. I'm going to mark that point once it's been measured, and I'm going to mark that in, but this is totally optional. This is just a personal preference. You don't have to do this. If you're going for a more semi-fitted look, you can go ahead to do this step, but if you want a more loose fit, you can just omit this step. Sometimes you might notice that it's a bit curvy around the hip area. You don't have to be alarmed. All you need to do is to reduce the amount of ease you've got on the hip line, and that will solve any issues around that area. But other than that, you can go ahead to shape in your trouser block. So now that our front block is ready, feel free to draw in new style lines. If the hip area is a bit curvy, you can reduce that by 1 inch or ½ an inch depending on your style, but I'm just going to leave this for the sake of this video. And the next thing we are going to do, we are going to start drafting the back block. And for the back block, I am going to use a different color of marker. I'm going to place my ruler in front of the crotch depth point, and I'm going to extend that by 2 inches, and that will be the back crotch depth point. So I'm going to mark that there, and that's 2 inches. I am going to go ahead around the knee area, and I'm also going to extend that by 1.5 inches outward, and I'm going to mark that and draw a straight line connecting the knee point to the back knee point. And also I'm going to go to the ankle area. I am going to extend that again by 1 inch this time, and all these points are going to serve as our back inner leg seam. Before joining all the points together, I want to first of all go around the crotch area and extend this point by 0.75 inches. So I'm going to mark that there, and this is for the back crotch curve. Next, I am going to go back to the front crotch depth and I'm going to find the middle point and I'm going to mark that. Once that is marked in, I am going to take away from the waist area 0.75 inches. I'm going to mark a point there. Then I am going to get my straight ruler and connect both lines together, like so. So for this, I am just using broken lines or a dotted line to draw in that straight line from the crotch depth to the waist area, like so. So once that is done, the next thing we need to do is to join all the points with our hip curve ruler, and this will serve as the back inner leg seam. So once we are done with that, we are going to go back to the dotted line that we once drew. We are going to raise that dotted line by 1.05 inches, and that will be the starting point of our back waistline. So once we've marked in the point, we need to get our straight ruler to extend that line to the point. And from that point onwards, we are going to measure 1/4 of our waist measurement plus 1 inch for the back dart. So once our back dart is drawn in, we are going to go to the hip line and extend that line by 1.5 inches. And we're going to mark our point there. After that, we are going to go to the knee line and extend that line by 1.5 inches as well. And once that is done, we are going to go to the ankle area and extend that by 1 inch. Now we've marked in all our point for our back side seam. What we need to do next is to get our curve ruler to draw in the curves around the hip area and extend that line to the ankle point. All the points are connected. Now you have your back trouser block. So don't forget to use your straight ruler to join all the lines together. And don't forget to connect the points around the crotch area. Now we have our trousers block ready, both the front and the back. But next we need to make sure we add in our back dart position. And for us to get that, we need to find the mid point on the waistline. That is the back waistline. We're going to mark in the midpoint. And from that point, we are going to measure 4 inches from that point downwards. And that will serve as a dart position. And also we are going to mark in 1/2 inch on both sides of the point. And that is our new dart position. So next, I'm just going to curve around the waist area to give it a little bit of curve. So now to finish off the pattern, I am going to draw in a new grain line, and I am going to measure 3.75 inches from our first line, the very first line we started with. I'm going to mark that all the way down to the ankle length and draw a vertical line joining all the points, and that will serve as my grain line for this pattern. So now that our grain lines are drawn in and our patterns are ready, what we need to do next is to get a fresh pattern paper to trace off first the front trouser block, and after that we are going to trace off the back trouser block. I am going to use my tracing wheel to trace off this pattern, using my hip curve ruler as a guide for all the curved lines. So once we've traced that in, we need to get our ruler, our hip curve ruler, to add in 1 centimeter for the seam allowance. Feel free to use whatever centimeter you need, but I'm using 1 centimeter for the seam allowance. And I'm going to repeat that step for the back trouser block. So once you're done tracing off the front and the back pattern, all you need to do is to cut them out on a fabric. So I am using a calico fabric or a muslin. I'm going to join them up to see how it fits. If I've got any issues, I need to refer back to the master draft and make the right adjustments, and you are good to go. So this is the front and the back of what we've just drafted. So thank you so much for watching. I hope this video helped one way or the other. Please don't forget to leave your comment, like and subscribe to our channel. Please follow us on all our social media platforms, and I'll see you soon.